What's going on, everybody? This is Travis Witherspoon from Carter Capital, helping you fight for your financial freedom throughout the forex market. Hopefully, everybody's doing very well on this Wednesday morning. Everything is starting to run over a little bit. Good night. Hopefully, everybody's doing well when it comes down to that. Hopefully, you end up having a good trading day. For the people that end up being able to see some of the big moves that end up happening, hopefully, you was able to take advantage of some of that moves yesterday. We actually ended up putting out two buy trades on US 30 and on NAS 100 respectively. Both of them take profit before the market actually ended up having that big drop. So that makes me feel a lot more confident each and every day when I end up looking at how we end up building out this overall strategy and being able to make it work when it comes down to take profit locations and everything else like that. So what we're going to do today, like always, is be able to talk about some potential moves that are out there and see if there's going to end up being any type of opportunities that we could be able to take advantage of. So let me go ahead and get through the disclaimer, and then after that, we'll go ahead and get rocking with everything. So not a CTA, so I'm not going to tell you whether to buy or to sell. What I'm going to do is teach you education, and from the education, you can be able to make your own informed decision. Now, understand that trading involves risk. It involves risk of being able to make money. Also involves risk of being able to lose money. So please keep that in mind. And understand that past performance is not indicative of future results, which means that if you end up making money yesterday, it is not promised that you can end up making money today. I'm getting ready to show myself on the screen in one quick second. I just want to make sure that I can be able to ensure that everyone has the opportunity to be able to watch if they want to be able to watch. But for the people that are here live, make sure that you end up typing inside the chat box. Make sure that you end up saying, hey, it's always cool to be able to talk to people that are like-minded, obviously. And for the people that have been trading with us for a while, we're starting to build out a pretty nice community. I really do like that. And being able to get everything else situated when it comes down to that. So, let's see. I got one more thing that I have to do before we can actually truly move on. I want to get this over with real quick. But while I'm doing this, it'll probably be a good time to go ahead and go to the economic calendar and not waste any time when it comes down to that. So, economic calendar, what's happening today? So, yesterday was the biggest day, pretty much the biggest day of the month, and probably the biggest move of the last. I would easily say probably the biggest move of the last year. For us, that we had a 1,500 point move on US 30, had a 300 point move on DAX. I think we had a 600 point move on NAS 100. So being able to take advantage of those movements, obviously, is what we're trying to do. It was something that was kind of not necessarily out of the norm. It was just that we ended up seeing. That's the first time we ended up seeing a move like that in a while. So I want to make sure that, obviously, come on, dude, you got to speed up. Let's see. Everybody, give me one quick second. I'm sorry. I should have had this done earlier. But the only way it's going to end up working is if I do this now. Let's see. Okay. Face. And let's see. Email. Good. And last thing is add tags. Copy. And paste. Save. Bam. Bada boom. Bada bam. All right, here we go. Okay, cool. So should be good with that. And now I can be able to go to this link. I can be able to go to this link. Okay, perfect, good. So here we go. I'm getting ready to show myself on the screen. I'm sorry it ended up taking so long. Here we go. Hope everybody's doing very well. There we go. Let's go ahead and take a look at what's happening with the big three real quick, and then after that we'll get into every other pair. as a chance of being able to see what's actually happening for its overall movement. I'm going to start off with gold because gold actually ended up making one of the bigger pushes last night. Um, Obviously, I'm still not interested in being able to take a trade on gold, but I do want to talk about for the people that do like to scout, for the people that do like to be able to get into moves, like what I ended up seeing a little bit earlier off of this one. The market is in consolidation. Now it's done moved into a smaller consolidation. There's a 1685 support that we've still been talking about, and then after that, the market has shown that the next resistance is basically right above 1800. So the sellers are actually proving that the market is actually more bearish than it is bullish. Obviously, we've been seeing that pretty much the whole year. But based off of that, now ultimately what's actually happening is that we end up having this rising wedge that ends up happening, and this rising wedge is pretty much going to end up being prevalent in every pair that you've seen over the course of the last week, because that was the same formation that ended up getting shown on US 30 and on NAS. But end up having a huge bearish engulfing candlestick. Once it ended up happening, the market actually ended up consolidating. So we have a breakout. We don't have a retest yet. I do expect that the market will probably end up retesting today as a way of being able to show what's going to end up being the actual movement um, and the market just in general. Um, and because of that, I said last night in the stream that I probably wouldn't be interested in being able to take a trade at this particular point in time. The reason why I said that, and I'm still going to end up remaining to be the same on this, is because um, when you end up having a movement like that, yes, there's an expectation that the market will end up having a retracement, which is in this case, if there was a big movement of, let's see, what that full total volume was 1,200 points, the whole range was 286 points. It has to be able to more than likely be able to make a move somewhat like this. We got a breakout, we got a little bit of a retest, and then after that, we end up seeing a push down. Well, going into today, I expect that, especially at 8:30, we probably might end up seeing that movement overall. That the market will have a retracement. Then after that, once it ends up doing that, it'll probably end up pushing up after the fact. So with that being said, I'm not going to look at being able to buy this move. There's no reason for me to look at being able to buy it. I would say that we'll wait to be able to see if this market can be able to push up, kind of basically push back on this trend line that was actually going up, and then after that, make that move. So I wouldn't do anything until the market actually ends up pushing up into the sell zone. Once that happens, then after that, you have a better chance of being able to make a move off of that compared to this trying to jump in now and saying that it's ready to go, in which it's really not. There has to be some significant movement towards a retracement before the market actually ends up pushing up and being able to go from there. Let's talk about the United States dollar index. Get into that real quick. United States dollar index. So same deal. We go based off of the weekly. We end up taking a look at what's happening for the top-down analysis. Uh, Market ended up bouncing off of support. There was a D extension that ended up getting hit on the daily. There's a D extension that's still not hit on the weekly. That's expected to be at 13,512. Currently, right now, as we end up taking a look at this market, obviously the market is considered to be bullish. From a daily perspective, what ended up happening was that there was a breakout that ended up happening earlier last week. That was actually on the 6th. Once that ended up happening, there was a counter trend line break that ended up happening. And essentially, what I ended up saying was there's a better chance that the market basically end up having a little bit of a break to the downside and may end up going back to the natural support that there is based off of this movement. But I also end up saying that there wasn't a retest yet, and the retest actually ended up being the overall news that ended up happening for CPI data yesterday, and because of that good news, the United States dollar actually ended up pushing up and getting stronger. So, with that being said, the market, to be honest, is really more in a state of confusion, in my personal opinion, because it could go bullish, it could go bearish. More in a state of confusion, yeah, it could go bullish, it could go bearish. You just don't know what's going to end up happening based off of this movement as of yet. So I'm not going to end up making a move either way. I need this market to be able to prove it to me on what it's trying to do. Is it going to break above the overall high based off of September 6th? Or is it going to start to be able to attack this overall bullish engulfing candlestick and try to break the low of that movement? until that answer has been given to me, there's really no movement to be able to take based off of this trade. Okay, so United States dollar index. If we take a look at most of those pairs are going to end up being in retracement modes today. I think today is going to be a very stale day of marketing, or a very stale day of trading, at least at the beginning of the day. But we'll see what happens in a couple hours as this market actually ends up making this move. Let's go ahead and take a look at what's happening with oil. Any questions or pairs? Okay. All right. So as we take a look at what's happening with oil, let's go ahead and go into a weekly perspective and take a look at it from a daily perspective and kind of move forward from there. I end up remember there was two things that was actually going on with this one. Long term, there's the expectation that because we're getting close to the winter months, that oil will start to get stronger and start to break out of this channel and finally have a movement to the upside. And then after that, we truly trade oil and have confidence that the market is going to end up making this movement overall. With that being said, if we take a look at this move overall, just from a directional standpoint, I would consider that this market is still considered to be bearish until the market breaks out of that channel. With that being said, if we end up taking a look at what's happening with the daily, we see that the daily is actually having a little bit of a retracement. So from a time frame alignment standpoint, there's really no true direction that is meeting up. With that being said, there's no trade to be able to take, at least right now, but it doesn't stop us from being able to get a game plan. What's going on trading crypto life? Hope everything is going well with you. You have a trading pair that you want to be able to talk about, place that inside of the chat box. But good morning to you. From a daily perspective, there's a bearish crown that is still in formation because the market ended up breaking the A when it ended up moving to the downside. There's already been a right tip for its overall formation that has been created. Based off of that, there has been a 23.6 retracement, not a 38.2 retracement. So there it's still an expectation that the market could go down to 77.11 first before being able to push back up. But as the market is going inside this channel, once again, there is, in my opinion, there's limited chances of you being able to find a great move, at least yet, until the market ends up either breaking out of. Fatty, what's going on? All the way from South Africa. Keep doing what you're doing. Hey, man, appreciate it. I really do. I really do appreciate that. As we keep on seeing that this market keeps on going through this channel, I got to see that it's either going to end up breaking out and retesting to the upside or rejecting off of the top of this consolidation range, and then after that pushing down to 77.11. Once that happens, then after that you may end up having an opportunity to be able to make a move. I'll say the best move right now at this particular point is to wait just to see how it's going to end up reacting off of this angle right here. If there is a counter trend line break that may end up happening right here, then I may be interested in being able to place in a sale based off of that. Let me change this color to this. I'm going to change this color to blue because typically my channels are blue, and then my counter trend lines are purple. Fatty, if you got a pair that you want to be able to talk about, guy, and place it inside of the chat box as well. I got time to be able to take a look at it. I'm going to go through quickly, but I don't think that we have any opportunities on index pairs today. One, because the market is going to end up being, I think the market is going to end up being slow today, just based off of that big movement that ended up happening. Two, because we got retail sales that's going to come out on Wednesday. Any idea on pound yen? Okay, we'll talk about that when we ended up talking about that one last night as well. Let's see. I know if I remember right, pound yen is in consolidation. It's basically in the middle of that consolidation at this particular point, or at the upper range of the consolidation. Oil, not going to do anything with me. Going to get off of that real quick. Let's go ahead and take a look at the major pairs that we end up looking at in general. That will end up being US 30 NOS 100. What did you say about Euro Pound? I don't think we talked about Euro Pound. I think I still have it up as a chart, but I'll take a look at Euro Pound. Matter of fact, let's go ahead and go through y'all pairs real quick first, because once again, I don't think that we're probably going to end up seeing a lot of movement on the index pairs. let's see. Euro. Yep, there go pound yen right there. We talked about that yesterday. All right, so simply put, to make it be very quick, I'm not trading it yet. I won't trade it until the market ends up breaking above 168 or falling below 159 because the market is in consolidation. Now, yesterday, what ended up happening was that I said that if somebody is interested in being able to scout the move, um, it'll probably be best that you end up taking a look at what's happening based off of a 2 hour and then look for a counter trend line break. But because the market is already going to hit at least 3 times at the top of the resistance, the best trade to be able to take will only be down to the midpoint. Now, that movement has already happened and is starting to be able to complete at this particular point. Um, and the 2 hours basically in the buy zone. So I do expect that we probably might end up seeing a little bit of a retracement first. Once that retracement happens, and if it doesn't break the overall high, look for a counter trend line break for this market to be able to break to the downside. Once that happens, then I would say place your stop above your high right here and then try to go to the midway point at 163. Um, so we end up seeing what's happening towards the downside. Yes, I'm saying that I believe that the Japanese yen, if we're going based off a movement, that the Japanese yen will probably end up still having a little bit of a retracement based off of that you could be able to get into. But once again, like I said before I end up prefacing this, I would not trade it. I would not trade it personally because the market is in consolidation. I don't trade inside of consolidation. I trade on the outsides of it. It's more profitable trading on the outside of it. You only got a 33% chance of being able to trade in the middle of it. Um, Fatty, hopefully that ends up answering your question. Currently, right now, I wouldn't do anything with it until it actually ends up breaking out. Once it breaks out, because it's done been in consolidation for a long time, it's going to break out with a large move. There we go. Hey, you're welcome on that. Let's go Euro pound. Euro pound. Let's see if I remember this correctly. What did I write? Okay. I'm showing the King's Crown, but the top of it has been broken out. So let me clear the screen. We're going to start all over. From a weekly perspective, this is a lot of consolidation. Euro pound typically moves slow anyway. So I don't know why I'm sitting up there acting like it's not new. It just moves slow. Um, so natural support from a weekly perspective, the natural support is at 8,300. Natural resistance has been I'm gonna say 92. It's done broke above 92 a couple times, but I'm gonna say 92 just because it's a good whole number. So there you go. Natural support, natural resistance force that overall movement. Obviously, we're in a large consolidation area that's been happening since 2015. Okay, so with that being said, the question is, where are we closer to at this particular point? We're more closer to the support than we are the resistance, and the market is actually moving up to the halfway point. So at this particular point, anytime that you're trading something that's done been in large consolidation positions, really and truthfully, the best trade is to the midpoint. Now, at this particular point, it's already, in my opinion, it's already at the midpoint for its overall movement. So we are in a position to where this thing has to be able to make a decision on what it wants to be able to do. Is it going to end up breaking above it, or is it going to end up breaking above it to the upside and going toward the upward bound of this movement, or are we going to end up seeing the thing reject and then fall back down and try to go out to 83 when it comes down to that movement? Me personally, um, um, I'm seeing that the market has tried to break at least 3 times over the course of the last couple of days, and um, it has not seen any progress when it comes down to that movement. From a Fibonacci perspective, if it does break out, there's an opportunity that it could go up to 88. for that overall movement. It is above the B. So from a standpoint of where would you get in it? Hold on, let me see where the retracement went first before I even say that. Because if it retraced down to a B, here goes your C, there's your D. Let's see. 78.6 is at 83.21. Let's see what the low was. Let's see what the low was. Okay, so we're still good. Okay, so yeah, 88 will end up being the position where I think it could potentially go. Currently, right now, if I'm saying what will probably end up happening, the market is in the sell zone. The market has started to show signs that this midway point at 87 is probably the area where it is going to end up rejecting. We could almost say, I can almost assume that what will probably end up happening is that it will probably end up falling back and getting towards somewhere around here or somewhere towards this area all over again. Because it seems like this market has just been in like three different pivot areas. It's been like right around 84.50, the midway point at 87. Probably have an upper bound of that position as well, and then after that, basically just falls inside of that area. Me personally, I wouldn't be interested in being able to trade it. If I was interested in being able to trade it, I would have to wait for a counter trend line break. Oh, I'm sorry, not a counter trend line break. I would have to wait and see if this market is going to break above 87 to be able to do anything, and then after that, run and try to get the 88 position. Be able to make a move off of that 2 hour. 2 hour more than anything else. Take a look at the trend line, see if the market actually ends up breaking to the upside of that. And then after that, try to make your move off of that position. Currently, right now, there's nothing to do today. Today, I wouldn't do anything. Hopefully, that makes sense. Trading crypto, I wouldn't do anything today. But if the movement that I would do, or the movement that I would be interested in being able to take, is once the market ends up breaking a counter trend line break, if it continues to break above 87 and it shows that it's ready to fully break out of 87 and then retest, then after that, I would take that move once it breaks out of that area to 88 and finish up on that daily D extension. Because that means that now it has a direction that it can be able to go after. So it can be able to go after the upper part of this large consolidation that we're looking at. Okay. All right, there we go. Good. So take a look at US 30. Obviously, let's talk about what we ended up doing yesterday. We talked about let's kind of break it down. So the biggest trade that we was looking for, we ended up seeing that the market was in consolidation from August 30th all the way until September 9th. We ended up getting into a trade when the market actually ended up breaking out of this consolidation on the 9th as well. We were trying to take it all the way up to 32,640 and 32,700 respectively. End up getting, me personally, I end up getting right around 80% of that move to the upside, plus the overall trade that we end up talking about when it ended up hitting to the upside. Legitimately, it hit our take profit position and automatically shot straight down. And I think that's the powerful part of being able to understand buy on profile, because by being able to understand what you're looking at, you can be able to get in and get out before there's a lot of trouble that may end up happening. And if you notice, there was a lot more sellers and there was a lot more consolidation blocks that had to be covered or that had to be broken before the market was going to end up being truly bullish. And based off of the news and based off of the inflation data, we end up seeing that the market end up falling to the downside very strong. Legitimately, I did not look at being able to take that sell trade because the news, they end up coming out right in the first 3 minutes. It ended up moving 300 points to the downside. In 15 minutes, they end up moving 600 points to the downside. So to me, I was like, the move is over with, in my opinion, because it failed and basically recovered that whole position that we end up catching on the breakout. Ultimately, what ended up happening was that the market ended up falling down, breaking below this large consolidation that we end up seeing, and then falling to the lower block of this consolidation that we end up talking about from September 6th to September 7th. So we're basically inside of this area right now. Legitimately, what I would like to be able to do and what I would personally like to be able to see is this market start to build out a consolidation. Um, and it probably would need to consolidate for a few days to be able to make a true decision on what I would like to be able to do. Obviously, we can see that that the market is in the sell zone. There could be a chance that the market could potentially fall to the downside. Um, Remember, we ended up having an order a long time ago um, at 30,997, and we was targeting what was that position 3667. So I'm going to say 3670 for that downside move. If it does break to the downside and starts to look like it's going to show forms of being able to continue to move, I will look at being able to take that trade right there. But ultimately, I think that the market has to retrace today. Don't get caught in false breaks. Don't get caught basically giving up your money today. Allow the market to be able to make its decision on what it's going to end up doing for this movement. 1,500 points is not nothing to be able to um, just say, hey, we made a 1,500 point move and now we're going to end up making another 1,500 point move. It just doesn't happen like that. This day was, um, it has happened before, but I don't think that we're probably going to end up seeing another day like this for a while. Now, we end up getting something like that when Jerome Powell ended up started talking about interest rates before at the beginning of this channel. Um, and we probably should have paid attention to this more because it was more of a precursor of what ended up happening. We end up getting a uh, we end up getting a rising wedge right here, and then the market ended up falling. And if you notice, we end up getting that same rising wedge right here before the market ended up falling. Um, it's just that this one was a larger rising wedge, and it ended up falling um, a lot larger when it came down to that movement. So currently, right now, I'm going to end up waiting. I would like for this thing to be able to build out a consolidation. Once it builds out a consolidation, then after that, we can start looking at making a trade. So US 30, I'm not going to look at least for right now. Nas is doing the same thing. I'm going to speed up a little bit. Nas is doing the same thing currently right now. I'm going to end up calling that a resistance. We have natural support. I would like for it to be able to build out a consolidation before being able to consider taking a move as well. We got to have some type of build up. We got to have some people making some type of indecision before we can be able to get inside of a move. So currently right now, Nas, I wouldn't do anything with either XPX 500. Once again, it's doing legitimately the same thing. Now it's broken above this overall area, but once again, the amount of points that actually end up falling, I would legitimately hope that we'll start to see a little bit of consolidation being built out before being able to make a move. Now, DAX is the only one that does not have a U.S. base, um, um, a U.S. base type of movement or U.S. base strength or weakness off of this. It did make the same move overall, and it has broken and is retesting at this particular point in time. If there's any trade that I would be more in, if there was any trade that I would pay attention to more right now at this particular point, it probably would be DAX. If it breaks the counter trend line break and it stays above this consolidation area, now you have a possible trade that you can be able to take a look at being able to get into. Now, if we go based off of previous history, the market ended up having a big push, consolidated, had a big push, and then consolidated again before ultimately having that large fall. It's already done rejected off of the top of this consolidation block. Um, so at this particular point, the question would be, is it going to fall down to support? And then after that, we can start building out one, or is it going to remain to be bullish and possibly end up moving? It could possibly end up moving back up to 13,276. But let me go based off of the hour and let's see what's actually happening. I can kind of get a better thought process off of that one. No, I wouldn't do anything with Nas either. It's already done hit the top of that consolidation block a little bit earlier today at 13,172. Currently, right now, it's probably building out consolidation as well. Okay, so essentially, to be honest, there's no move this morning, and I said that in the live stream last night that I probably wasn't going to end up trading anything today because I need to see. I have to be able to see that there's going to end up being some built up consolidation somewhere. And once that happens, then after that, we can start being able to place in orders. But the market falls, especially with DAX, if the market falls, it's going to fall back into this large consolidation block that ended up happening. the market end up pushing up, then that means that overall, based off of what we end up looking at from a long-term perspective, that we end up having this low, we end up having this high, we got a higher low, and then after that, we may end up seeing a higher high start to build out, but it's going to take a little bit of time for it to be able to get there. So at this particular point, no trades this morning. Um, I'm not surprised about that, not disappointed about that either. So we just keep our eyes out on it, see what happens a little bit later on today. We'll talk about it as well in our 9 o'clock session today. For the people that end up watching live, click on that boost button. I do appreciate y'all being able to do that. Well, we are building out our Discord community and being able to get everything else situated with that. We'd love for y'all to be able to join. As soon as I end up having everything fully done about that, I give y'all more information on that. Our VRTX trading strategy course, and we're starting to get people kind of lined up for that. Remember that October to January push is the biggest push that you typically get throughout the year. I would love to be able to help you out for being able to manage that and being able to find positions, and you ultimately being able to understand how to be able to use this strategy to your advantage within those overall months. You want to be able to learn a little bit more about that. Go ahead and private message me. I'm going to end up having a webinar a little bit later on tonight at 7 p.m. if you're interested in being able to learn a little bit more about that and kind of get some information in that area. Like always, make sure that you end up planning your trade your plan. I see each and every one of y'all a little bit later on today. Hopefully the market will kind of give us an idea about what it wants to do from there. Everybody, take it easy.